Hi everybody and welcome back to the Cupcake Jemma channel. If we've not met yet, then hi, I'm Sally and I am here to bring you sweet, delicious recipes every single week. If you've not yet subscribed to our channel, then go and do that right now. It is just here. There's a button that says subscribe. Just click on that. So as you can see, Sam and we have come over to the Crumbs Doilies shop here in Soho and it's still shut. Obviously, we are still shut and there are no cupcakes here, which is pretty sad. And so we thought we would come here and bake one of our absolute favorite cupcakes. We are going to make the Caramel Cornflake Cupcake. It has got a delicious moist chocolate sponge. We're going to top it with a salted caramel buttercream because chocolate and salted caramel are a match made in heaven. We're going to put on a caramel drip and a big old chunk of caramel cornflake topping. So let's head on upstairs and we will get cracking because we got a lot to do, people. So as you can gather, there's a whole lot of caramel going into this recipe. We're going to make two different types of caramel, a wet caramel and a dry caramel, which is great because a lot of you ask questions about why we use different types of caramel. The first one we're going to get on with making is the wet caramel, which we're going to put in our salted caramel buttercream and we're going to use for the drip. So we want to make it now so that it has time to cool down completely. So in this saucepan, I have got 250 grams of caster sugar. You can also use granulated sugar, and into it I'm going to put 125 mils of cold water. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put this onto a medium heat and we're going to keep it boiling, a nice steady rolling boil. Don't stir it. If you stir it, the sugar will crystallize. Just leave it alone until it gets to a lovely deep amber color. So now you want to take the saucepan off the heat and ever so slowly and ever so carefully, we're going to start adding 250 mils of double cream. Stir it really, really quickly with a wooden spoon, and once all those bubbles have subsided, we can start adding a tiny little bit more until all the cream has completely mixed through. But if you do find that once you've added your cream, your caramel has seized up, you've got a few lumps in there or one big old lump, you can put your saucepan back over a low-medium heat and just gently stir it around, and you should find that it all does kind of dissolve back down into a lovely liquid. And if there are little nuggety bits in there, you can just pass it through a sieve to get rid of those. Don't worry, like, caramel takes a little bit of practice, but eventually you'll get there and you'll be making it probably every day because it's delicious. So finally, we're just going to add in about half a teaspoon of some good quality vanilla extract. And remember, you can get ours over on the CupcakeJemma website. I'll put loads of links at the end of this video for various things that you can get over online. So anyway, we have made our caramel and we're just going to pour it into a bowl to let it cool down. I always like to do this because it will just help it cool down a lot quicker. And please be very, very careful. Be careful when you're making caramel from the very beginning because it is hot. All right, so we're going to leave this to cool down completely, and it will thicken slightly as it cools down, but this kind of caramel is never going to set completely hard, so it is perfect for adding into buttercream, for dripping on things, for drizzling on your desserts. So that is your wet caramel. So we're going to put that behind us here, and we're going to get on with making our chocolate cupcake sponge. So a really lovely quick recipe here, starting with 2 eggs. And first of all, we're just going to whisk these together just to break them up. And then we're going to go in with some buttermilk. So I've got 125 grams or mils of buttermilk here. You can make buttermilk very easily. I'll put a link to a video that we did a while back showing you how to make your own buttermilk, but you can just use sour cream as well in this recipe. So we're going to whisk that into our eggs. So again, just mixing these together. We're not kind of achieving anything by whipping it up or anything. So next up, we've got 110 mils of oil. So you want to go with a flavorless oil. I use vegetable, but you can use sunflower as well. And again, mix those through. And then our last wet ingredient is coffee. Do I need to say it again, guys? I know some of you don't like coffee, but this is not going to taste like coffee. It's just deepening the flavor of our cupcake, making it even more chocolatey than it already is going to be. So please, please use it. You can use fresh coffee that you've made, but if you don't like coffee, grab yourself some instant, and you want to go with 125 mils of hot water with about 2 teaspoons of instant coffee. So we'll add that in and whisk it together. And once all of the wet ingredients have combined, we can start adding our dry. So into a sieve, I'm gonna add 140 grams of plain flour, which is all-purpose flour, as well as 185 grams of caster sugar or granulated sugar, and 35 grams of cocoa powder. And I'd always recommend looking for a really good quality of cocoa powder because it does make all the difference. A quarter teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, just to give an extra little bit of rise to our cupcakes. And lastly, I'm just gonna add in some chocolate chips. I've got 35 grams of chocolate chips here, which I've actually chopped up even smaller so that they spread further through our cupcake batter. And these are lovely because you get a little nugget of them when you chomp into the cupcake. So then grab back the whisk and we're just gonna stir this together until it's combined. And that is our chocolate cupcake batter made. It's pretty easy, right? So now we just need to get it into our cupcake cases. So I've got a standard cupcake pan here lined with 12 paper cases. And this, as you can see, is a very runny batter. So I'm gonna put it in with a jug. So first of all, let's just get this into this lovely large jug here. This is quite a messy job. A very messy job, actually. When we have to make loads of these in the bakery, there's chocolate cupcake batter like everywhere. It's no bad thing. Right, anyway, here we go. So we're gonna go for about 2/3 full. Okey-doke, so the oven is preheated to 160 degrees C, that is fan assisted, and we're going to put them in for somewhere between 22 to 24 minutes, but really you just want to take them out when they're cooked. If you do the little pressy on top, so if you press your finger on top of one of the cupcakes, they should spring back to life, but also with these, because they're a bit more fudgy, you could put a skewer in the middle as well and make sure they come out clear. I'm going to go for 23 minutes and hope for the best. And now we're gonna make caramel number 2, which is our caramel cornflake topping. Now this is a dry caramel, so like the wet one that we just made, or unlike the wet one, that we wanna stay lovely and gooey and drippy, this one we wanna set firm because we wanna have a nice chunk of cornflake caramel on the top of our cupcakes. So this is the difference. We are not gonna be adding any water. We're gonna start with 225 grams of caster sugar or granulated sugar in the pan, and what we're going to do is we're just going to heat this on its own first. Now this can be a little bit scary, so you just need to play around with your temperatures. So we're going to put it on a medium heat and you want it to start dissolving, but the good thing about this one is because it's got no water, we can stir it. It's not going to crystallize like the wet caramel did. So get the hob on and get melting. So as you gently move the sugar around, you might feel like it's just making some big hard clumps, but that is okay. Like this is just sugar in the pan, so it is eventually all gonna melt down. It's just good to move the sugar around so that it sort of starts to melt evenly, so you don't get one bit that gets really burnt. And once all the sugar has completely dissolved and you've got a lovely kind of see-through caramel going on here, we're going to take it off the heat and we're going to add a few more ingredients. So I've got 150 mils of double cream, and we're going to do this the same as we did the wet caramel. We're going to add a little bit at a time until it's all completely combined. And once the cream is in, we're gonna add 75 grams of cold chopped unsalted butter. And again, stir those through until it's melted. And again, like the other one, if it kind of seizes up a little bit, like I've got a big blob here, right? I ain't scared about it because we're actually gonna put this back on the heat and all of that will dissolve down again. So please do not fear, but also be very careful again because this is hot sugar. So you can see I've got this really long wooden spoon here. That is my probably top tip for making caramels. Get your hand away from it. Okay, so we're gonna go back on the heat and now it is time to get your sugar thermometer. like this one here. If you don't have one of these, you can get them on the internet really, really easily. We actually have some over on CupcakeJemma.com, and we're going to put it into our caramel. We're going to put it over a medium heat, and we're going to look for 116 degrees C. And we are there. We're at 116 degrees, which is also known as soft ball stage, because you've got different stages when it comes to melting sugar, and soft ball means it's going to hold a ball, but it's going to stay soft, which is exactly what we want. So we're going to quickly add half a teaspoon of vanilla extract and half a teaspoon of salt, because this is salted caramel after all. Mix these through, and it is time to add it to our cornflakes. So I've got 90 grams of cornflakes here. I'm just going to put this into this slightly larger bowl, and then we're going to pour our caramel on top and stir it through. Again, please be very, very careful when you do this. So this is going to start setting pretty quickly. So I'm going to pour it out onto a silpat or a lightly greased baking tray, and we just want to pour it out and kind of spread it out a little bit. And all we need to do now is leave it to completely cool down and set. I know it looks delicious and it smells delicious, but please wait for it to cool down. Sam, go away. And also, no, it's kind of a good thing, because we've kind of made way too much for 12 cupcakes, but making a small amount of caramel is pretty hard and pretty scary unless you've got a tiny little pan. But that's fine, because this is just so good to just eat. Like, if you could eat this for breakfast, it improves cornflakes by 1,000,000 degrees. Anyway, our cupcakes are nearly cooked, so I'm gonna wait for them to bake, take them out, cool them down, have a little clear up, and then we can make our buttercream, and then we can decorate and eat our cupcakes. So I'll see you shortly, and I promise I will not have eaten too much of this cornflake goodness. Ooh, literally just on time. It is time for the salted caramel buttercream, which, if you've not made this before, I'm pretty excited for you because it is amazing. So we're going to start off, as we always do with buttercream, and that is with some soft butter. So I've got 200 grams of soft unsalted butter. You can see what I mean by soft, right? Like, it is super, super soft, and we want it to be soft because we want to be able to incorporate loads of air and get it really, really whippy, which gives us a lovely light buttercream, not like a stodgy, waxy one. So we're going to start off by putting that into the mixer, but you could do this with a hand whisk as well. And we're going to put it onto a medium to high speed for about 4 to 5 minutes until it's kind of doubled in size, it's really pale in colour, and it looks lovely and fluffy. Can you see what I mean? Look at the colour of this. It doesn't even look like butter anymore. It's amazing. So now we can go in with some icing sugar. So in total, I have got 290 grams of icing sugar, which I've already sifted, and we're going to add it to our buttercream in 2 halves, beating really, really well in between each addition. And when your buttercream is looking pale and fluffy and delicious, we can go in with a bit of salt and, of course, our caramel that we made earlier. And you can see it's a little bit kind of thicker. It's cooled down completely, so it's not going to melt the butter or anything. So I'm going to go in with 1 teaspoon of salt, and then I'm going to turn the mixer onto a low speed. And we're going to gradually add the caramel. Now, don't add all of it because we want to use some of it to drip with. So I would recommend adding about half of it. Give it a taste. If you want to add a little bit more, go for it. It's kind of up to you at this stage. Et voila. I mean, it smells good, but it doesn't smell as good as it tastes. It is absolutely amazing, this stuff. So it is ready. You can see how beautiful and soft it looks. So it's ready to go into a piping bag. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put the rest of my caramel into a little piping bag, grab my cupcakes, my topping, and then we'll get decorating. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is obviously put some icing onto these cupcakes. So I've got a nice large round nozzle in my piping bag here, but by all means do this with a star if that's all you've got, or if you prefer it. You can do what you like. So I'm going to put a nice big blob on every cupcake. Next up, a drizzle of caramel, and I mean, as you can see, this is really drippy. So you want to like put a little bit on and let it drip on its own. Otherwise, you're going to get caramel everywhere, which, you know, it's not that much of a problem. And now a big old chunk of that delicious cornflake topping that we made, and it's firmed up. Like, you can just eat this, like put it on the cupcakes, but eat the rest. Amazing, or what? It looks divine, and I'm going to eat some, guys, but it might take me a little while to chew through that cornflake, so bear with me. This is the best stuff ever. And I know it can seem a little bit scary making all the caramel, because we're like, be careful, but do be careful, but you'll be absolutely fine. Just follow our instructions, go nice and slowly, and you will have these incredible salted caramel cornflake cupcakes in front of you before you know it. And you can share them if you like, but I think you should just take them to your bedroom and eat them and enjoy them, because that's probably what I'm going to do. So thank you so much for joining us this week. Sam and I will be back next week, of course, with another recipe for you guys. We're really loving hearing your thoughts on what you want to see on the channel. So do keep letting us know if you have any ideas of videos that you want to see in the future. Just pop them in the comments box below and we'll make sure to check them all out. So we'll see you next week. Enjoy gluing your teeth together with this. Like, really.